It was the campaign that polarized the Twitter sphere. We'll ask if shock tactics in advertising are truly effective.
Whether you like it or you don't like the campaign, we needed to put this issue in the spotlight. People are condoning an action that should be condemned.
Things are about to become a whole lot more complicated, says a trends expert, as a disturbing confluence of technology, business and government looms in 2019. Also, why great storytelling is set to become even more important for brands looking to really connect with consumers. A warm welcome, and we're going to start with this story. We know that drunk driving is a major contributor to the death toll on our roads, but to what lengths should we really go to highlight the importance of driving dry? A clip which showed hip-hop artist Nomuzi Mabena involved in a car accident while live streaming on social media has really sparked outrage when it emerged that the video was in fact fake and part of an anti-drunk driving campaign by Volkswagen South Africa in partnership with Diageo's Drive Dry initiative, calling on South African motorists to take a pledge not to drink and drive. Before we talk about it, here's how it played out.
If you know any singers, dancers, rappers, DJs who can sing, dance and rap, nobody was harmed in the making of this accident.
Stand by and action.
I partnered with Volkswagen and Drive Dry to stop the myth Yamunati Haufini.
Guys, we're going to be doing a lock off on the road. We're going to be doing an emergency stop so the road clear.
We've all done it. We've all lost ourselves over the festive season without thinking we may lose our lives, but the risk is real. Drinking and driving causes thousands of deaths on our road every single year. I got to see the impact on those left behind, but not everybody will. Make the change. Take the pledge in 2019.
But here's where it all seemed to come a little undone. After the initial video of the apparent car crash went viral, Mabena's public relations team declined to comment on media queries, leaving fans speculating and legitimately concerned about the rapper's welfare. Then social media users reacted with shock and outrage, some saying that the campaign was insensitive to those who've lost loved ones on the road. Others felt the campaign sent a powerful message about the perils of driving under the influence of alcohol. So let's talk about it. Mike Sharman is with us, co-founder of the Retroviral agency. He tweeted at the time that he thought the idea of faking a car accident was a brave move. In a recent piece published on the Mark Lives website, he outlined his praise and concerns about this polarizing campaign. Also joining us, Candice Mullins, director and co-founder of Bonfire Media, the agency responsible for the execution, and I hope will defend the concept and the strategy and give us some insight into the aftermath. Candice, let's start with you if we can.
Thanks,
Was
Jeremy.
the idea to set out and scare the pants off people?
Jeremy, it was. We've seen so many of these campaigns that talk about similar issues or the same issues, and they've been going for years. Year after year, we see the shock campaigns come in and they talk about the same problem, and every single year we see the stats go up. So something had to change. We had to talk about this on another level. We had to come in strong. We were only going to have one chance to have our say on this, and we could not miss the mark.
Didn't you push the line? Didn't you push it too far? The fact that you lied to fans of the rapper, was that taken into account? Did you expect that kind of negative aftermath?
So you don't go into a campaign of such gravitas without complete scrutiny of every part of the campaign. I mean, you have to consider every way that it's going to go, and you have to consider every piece of the puzzle and what you're going to create in the public eye. So there was absolutely no shock to us when we went into this to know that people were going to be outraged. And there is definitely an element of duplicity, of shock when people realize that it's
Well, it's shock, and you were about to use the word duplicity. There was an element of
there's
duplicity.
an element of duplicity. And although for 12 hours, people did not know the truth of the campaign. The truth of the matter is that pain and that shock and that concern that we forced them to feel is the truth and pain that people feel for the rest of their lives when they are truly in the reality of a situation.
And what about the charge of being insensitive to people who've lost loved ones on the road before? Not really fair on them, was it?
So everyone going into this campaign feels empathy for the families that have lost people before, and more importantly for the people that are going to lose families going forward. So we had to do this. This campaign is dedicated to the people that have lost loved ones. We've seen that reaction from the public. People have come forward to say, we've lost people to the hands of drunk drivers. We've lost innocent people to the hands of people texting and driving. And they've said to us, thank you. We just wish this had happened before that happened to them.
Mike Sharman, one of the things that went wrong, you suggest, was the 12-hour period in or before the reveal was announced. Do you think it was unethical?
I think that the period was a little bit too long before the reveal. I think that the agency did such incredible work throughout the festive period, throughout December. It was one of the things that if you hadn't really been following or participating or taking note, you would have missed those breadcrumbs that were being littered across Muesli's profile. So there were some beautiful moments of her shooting boomerangs, of drinking champagne, steering the wheel, doing all these kinds of things, 2 a.m.
Come on,
drive-bys.
Mike. No one was going to make that connection between the breadcrumbs and what ultimately
Of course not.
Yeah.
And I think that that's ultimately the reason where the campaign does suffer, is that the 12-hour period that went by, there was maybe, we were speaking off air, and Candace said that the mom and dad and her sister were the only people that knew that this stunt was going to be happening. So there were a lot of friends and relatives that were exposed to the negativity of this potential belief that she was dead.
And my question to you still stands. Do you think that is an ethical piece of advertising?
I think that from an ethical point of view, I think that the fact that we were lied to for a full 12 hours, I think that is where the line of ethics gets crossed, yes.
Defend that for me, Candace.
So the first question I need to ask is, those breadcrumbs were missed, and everyone seems to think it's a letdown of the campaign, but to us, it's probably the biggest problem in the situation. People are condoning an action that should be condemned. We are watching people around us drink and drive on a daily basis, and we're watching people text and drive. And if we do not stand up against that issue, then we're lying to ourselves.
So what should people, or how should people have responded to the breadcrumbs that you laid?
With 300,000 people seeing her behavior in December, 4 people stood up and said this is not right.
What did they say?
They said, do you really think you should be drinking and driving? 4 out of 300,000 people. That is not
And
not
that's
acceptable.
emblematic of the bigger problem that exists in this
The biggest
country.
problem is that you might think that you're a safe driver and you don't drink and drive and you don't text and drive. But if you are not looking around to the people around you, judging them and condemning their behavior, you're a part of the problem. We are asking people to stand up and start challenging the people around them.
But the reality is that while the message might have rammed home, and we can talk about the efficacy in just a moment, in many respects it did fail a test of ethics and proper responsibility. You upset a lot of people in the aftermath. Is that fair?
We knew there was going to be upsets, and Jeremy, there's a part of that that's, we have to admit, is intentional. Shock tactic campaigns come and we've seen them go. But the reason why we think that they have failed is so quickly you go from the shock to the relief that it's not your reality. These campaigns are visually destructive and people get a shock from them, but then there's very quickly a veil of this is not me, this can't happen to me, this can't happen to the people around me. So the 12 hours of, call it deception, call it shock and anger, although we anticipated and although we intended to create it, was the one where we could show people, just for one half of a day, if you do not start responsibly driving, if you do not start speaking out, you're going to be in this situation for the real, and it's not going to be
Mike
fair.
Sharman, what was right about this campaign? You talk about highlighting South Africa's hypocrisy in calling out a fake campaign, but not condemning the influencer, which is a point that Candace herself has made.
Yeah, I mean, she speaks to the stats. Out of such a small percentage of people actually said, hey, hang on, because we've glamorized this influencer lifestyle, sex, drugs, and rock and roll on the gram, you know, offering up your best life in order for a dopamine fix of hearts and likes. And I think that's what we look at influencers, we look at these individuals that have 800,000 followers, and we want to live that lifestyle. And we're quick to cry foul when we've been duped, but we don't really want to say anything when we see this situation that's unfolding right in front of our eyes via stories and via main imagery on these social platforms.
What was the response from Volkswagen and Diageo?
They came to us and asked us to bring a campaign to them that would actually make a difference. And there was obviously various proposals that we took to them. This is the one that struck a chord. This is the one that had people sitting back in the boardroom and going, it's bold, it's pushing the boundary, but I actually feel something. And I feel like this...
You didn't push the boundary, Candice. You crossed the boundary completely. But anyway, keep going.
They felt that it was the one that resonated with them the hardest, and the one that could truly create a conversation that we've seen roll out over social media. We've seen for 5 days people talk about this, and I think you cannot deny the fact that whether you like it or you don't like the campaign, it has created the conversation, and that is all we ever wanted to do. We needed to put this issue in the spotlight, and I think we can easily say that's being created. And you talk about sentiment. Yes, outrage was 100% the initial reaction, but we've seen the sentiment change. Looking at 65% of people are for the campaign at the moment, and you look at one story, all you need is to sit back and read one tweet of someone that says, every time I thought of picking up my phone today, I put it down because I thought of this campaign. And for us, that's worth it all.
One life saved.
One life saved.
Given that you're involved with big brands like Volkswagen and Diageo in this chaotic aftermath of conversation, was there a pullback slightly on both of their parts? Do you think there was any regret?
No, there's definitely no regret. The only regret is that this wasn't done many years ago. There's an empathy we feel for those that had to go through a pain that we know that we caused, but we're not apologetic for any part of this campaign. We're very proud of it. We're proud of the reaction. We're proud of the debate. All we can hope is that people hold on to it, turn around, look into that mirror, and react.
Do you think, Mike Sharman, the needle will be moved in this respect? That we've created, or the conversation has been created. It's been a divisive and an angry conversation, but nonetheless, you're not really going to change lifestyle in this country.
I think so.
Guarantee you, come the Easter break, we'll be doing exactly the same thing.
I think South Africans are so desensitized to the realities of all of these things and all of these problems. And I think we've got a bigger issue. We've got a societal problem. And I think it's really difficult to make a change. And I think that the stats will be interesting to see year on year if there has been a change, or like you say, what happens in Easter. But I think the reality of it is that we move on. We've got goldfish memories when it comes to campaigns and social movements and social media. So,
and that, Candice Mullins, is the problem, isn't it? That you've created the flurry, you've created a short-term conversation, but the reality is you've done nothing at all.
Well, only the stats can tell us. But if you don't try, then I think you need to ask yourself about responsibility and ethics.
Mike Sharman, Candice Mullins, thank you very much indeed. So, irresponsible or bold and powerful? We'd like to hear your thoughts on this controversial campaign, and you can find more information on our Facebook page. Next on the program, consumer profiling, facial recognition and surveillance, while local trend spotter says 2019 is going to be a complicated year as we look at the confluence of technology, business and government.